So as Jana said, the education curriculum that we're releasing, I'm the Tim she referred to. I'm not going to talk about that much here, but it's actually enabled by the test beds that we're going to talk about today. So when I say test beds, a lot of you have seen the test bed here at Illinois. You've either visited it last night or you visited it in the past, or if I'm kind enough, you can maybe visit it even today or tomorrow. So that's our primary TCIPG testbed. That's the one that Illinois researchers use and that we primarily collaborate with others in. And it's actually an amalgamation of two things. It's our TCIPG funding and TCIPG efforts over the past 9 years, but then we have another center called the Illinois Center for a Smarter Electric Grid that also has contributed a significant amount of resources to that testbed environment. We've melded those two together to enable the research and further things out. Our partner institutions like Washington State, for instance, also has some extensive testbed capabilities. They have their Energy Systems Innovation Center and their Smart Grid Demonstration and Investigation Lab, and they recently, just within the past month, received an award for doing some work in smart cities as well. Dartmouth has their Zigbee-related work and other miscellaneous equipment that they have in their testbed. You would have maybe seen a demonstration of that last night, or you can talk more with our Dartmouth researchers. Sergey Broadus in the corner there actually has some devices he can hand out to our utility partners to start exploring Zigbee in their space. UC Davis, University of California, Davis also has a testbed, and they've been doing things with PLCs and cyber-physical integration, and they have various different equipment there that they've integrated, including OSI's Pi Data Historian. So what are these testbeds for? Well, really, they're an environment to explore education, to explore research, to explore training, field testing, and transitioning technology from this concept that you have of, hey, maybe something's broken. Let me find out if it actually is broken. Let me look at how to fix it. Let me test my solution to fix it, and then let me get that solution out into practice. We also use it to facilitate collaboration, so we've had a lot of people come in to our test beds over the various years, from national labs to other academics and even companies, to engage with us in various different ways. We want to provide real-world impacts. We're not just trying to build a test bed to build a test bed. We want it to actually push the research, push the researchers to do a better job and to get something out into practice that, when you deploy it in the field, actually works and solves problems for the utilities. And then lastly, we need the ability to access or create data to support this research. So data is always a driver. You can simulate as much as you want, but real-world data often isn't the same as simulations. So we use this for a lot of broader impact. We look at how to enable hands-on research. We look at how to define national direction for cyber-physical testbeds in this space. We sit on working groups and panels. And in many ways, we were one of the first entities to really build something in this power system space that focuses on cybersecurity and looks at a testbed as a recomposable artifact. We've done so by creating a flexible framework that allows us to provision the systems, and we've used some other projects sponsored by DHS as part of that, like the Deter framework, which is built on EmuLab, and we've used that in a sort of unique way to start doing both cyber and physical provisioning in the lab. And then, as I mentioned, we're open for collaborative efforts. So we can do research, we can operate in a facility-driven sort of use, sponsored research, technical testing, et cetera. Lots of different ways to engage with us. You've seen this picture before. I'm not going to talk too much about this, but the catalyst of all of our work, feeding between the utilities, the vendors, et cetera, validation and testing, in the middle of this is this hidden picture, effectively, of the testbed. The testbed is really what is that enabling vehicle behind the scenes here. So a little bit about the Illinois testbed. It's a lab environment, but we try to mimic everything from original generation all the way through consumption. So we have actual physical generation assets like solar arrays and other things that are deployed around campus. We have diesel generators, and we have this vision for Energy Park here at Illinois that'll incorporate a full microgrid environment that's starting to move forward. We have over $6.5 million of hardware and software in our lab here, much of which is donated thanks to people even that are in this room and others that we collaborate with and have collaborated with over the years. We bring together both this power system equipment that actually is deployed in the substations, and we tie that together with emulation and simulation systems to scale, to look at problems at different fidelities, different granularities, et cetera. You don't always need physical hardware to do research. In some cases, a simulation is fine. But when that simulation reaches its limits, when you can't prove out the work or you need to validate it on an actual field deployment, we have the hardware to do that too. Everything is attempted to be automated. It's not fully automated, to be honest. There are aspects that you can't automate, and there's aspects that we're being fairly innovative in how we're automating, and we're doing so in the confines of our research environment. And obviously, this is used for our research. It's used for collaboration, both with national labs and with other utilities and vendors and academics. As I mentioned, we have full end-to-end capabilities really in the lab. There's all sorts of different tools we have, and a lot of those tools are focused on cybersecurity. So we can do power-specific research in the lab, but really everything that we do is addressing this from a cybersecurity perspective, looking at how these cyber-physical systems couple together and interface and react with each other. There's all sorts of assets. I'm not going to go through any of these, but needless to say, if it's out there and it's useful in the industry in some way, shape, or form, we probably either already have a copy of it in our lab in some way, or we can easily get it. There's all sorts of protocols that we deal with as well. So we don't just deal with hardware and software, but we deal with the underlying communications layers and communication that they do as well. Here's some quick pictures of the testbed itself. You've seen many of these pictures already, but it really ranges from physical assets, like in the upper right-hand corner of a solar array, which is broken into 5 research strands using different inversion technology, down to the bottom left-hand corner, which is our own smart meter research platform that we built to get people off the ground and running in this space. The Wsu Smart Grid Lab has many of the same types of resources that we have, just at a little bit smaller of scale. And they bring all of these resources together to look at a particular scenario, looking from the aspects of the control center, talking to substations and enabling that research. They also have relay test harnesses and relay testing facilities to test things like protection circuits and other aspects. And then they have an RTDS as well that allows them to do full fidelity simulation, just like what we have in our lab, and use that for experimentation purposes. So a couple more pictures of that. You can see on the right-hand side their relay test stations, and then their substation and control center environment on the left-hand side. The Dartmouth testbed is focused primarily on Zigbee devices, as I mentioned. They have all sorts of different devices in that space, including consumer devices that they monitor and manage and assess. And then they have some other related stuff as well that's supporting their research, like the phase dancer USB probe that allows you to look at the impacts of USB devices misbehaving, which you've probably heard about in the news as a potential large concern now at a governmental level. And then they do some work in white space radios as well. The UC Davis testbed has computation cluster. Obviously, we all have computation gear, but they also have Siemens PLCs and other things that they've tied together, including OSIsoft's PyData Historian and various other software to realize cyber-physical experimentation and intrusion detection and combined models. So I mentioned that a lot of our stuff is provided by donation. So here is a courtesy slide to all of the companies that have donated to us over time at varying different degrees. There's no delineation in any of these as to who's donated more than any others. And there's some of these that are frankly unquantified donations. There's no possible way for us to put a dollar value on the amount of hardware and software and access that they've provided. So that's great. It's a testbed, right? But how do you engage with us? How do you move forward and start to work in this space with us? Well, you can collaborate. So you can spend time at the poster sessions tonight and talk to the students, build a bond with them, help them move their research so that it's more useful to you. Use your insight to help guide their work. There's sponsored research, so you can pay for us to do work with you or for you on particular aspects, looking at a research angle to solve a problem that you may not be tooled for or may not have the time to address, and leveraging the brilliant minds of the TCIPG organization for that. We can also do technical testing. We honestly try to stay away from that, but we have brought gear into the lab to realize, this prototype, for instance, is applying cybersecurity in this realm. Is that security sufficient? Are the mechanisms protecting? Are they implemented correctly? Did you guys mess up when you implemented a particular standard or linked two different standards together? And we can assess that either in white paper or we can assess that in physical testing. And then you can donate. We always like new gear that's useful for our research or money that's given as a gift, right? Yeah. So really, together we like to help solve. Together we can solve these research problems. So it's not just us sitting here in an ivory tower. We really want to work directly with you. So that's all I have to say. There is a little link at the bottom there, tinyurl.com/TCIPG testbed. What that is a 10-minute or so video, 5 to 10-minute video on the TCIPG testbed, giving you a tour of that space. So if you haven't been in there, that's me talking again for about 5 to 10 minutes on the various different research we do there. So please do visit that if you want more information or reach out directly to me.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. That really was a whirlwind tour. You can see that we really have a lot of gear, and it's not just gear, it's really organized in a way that's useful to support our research at all the universities. We're also working on federating that together, as Tim said, and we also, as Tim said, are very interested in making that available to you, making that available to other academics that need to do their work. Are there any quick questions that you'd like to ask now before we move to the next phase?